Okay, good news. I have an EMG. I've got a sensor on my deltoid and on my lats. And the readout is going to come on here. It's going to be a difficult shot, but I'm going to try and show you this working. The yellow one is on my deltoid. So if I do this, you can see my deltoid is lighting up. The lats is not very sensitive to the lats. So I pull back. Ah, man, that's not very good, but so relax the lats, tense them. I'm trying not to use my deltoids. You can see I'm tensing my lats there, and my arm is going out. Whereas if I just use my deltoids light up heaps. But then I can do this, and the lats barely move, but that's just because there's something not quite working with the sensor. And you can see I'm not using my deltoids as much as if I just move them like that. Deltoids light up. Okay, so I've still got the EMG on. So if I do this, my deltoid activates, tense my lats. You can sort of see it there, it's not very good. But I'm in a wheelchair, by the way. Now, I pull my lats, my arms back, that's my lats tensed. But when I go past this point, my lats are relaxed. Now if I tense my lats again, it makes me do like a bunny hop. You can see, I'll do it again. So, lats are relaxed, tense. Yeah, you can see as my deltoid stops moving, the lats activate. So, you can see the 2 times my lats tensed. Anyway, all that energy is going to waste as a wheelchair user because you can't really convert it to forward momentum. If you had some way where you could go like this and convert that energy into forward movement, I think you could go a lot faster on one of these things. Good morning. I'm having a morning coffee. At this point, we decided to switch the sensors around to see if we could get a better reading on the lats. Unfortunately, we couldn't. So in this next clip, it's just being filmed by the lab tech. And it's sort of a bit out of focus because you had to focus on the reading and the person at the time. The person being me. I don't know why I am a person, but yeah, anyway. So I think if I got really ripped, you could see the lats moving better and you'd probably get a better reading. But if I can get some roided up bodybuilder to do this, then that's another option. I might do that. If you want me to get ripped, hit the like button. If you want me to get a roided up bodybuilder to do this, hit the subscribe. If you want me to be the roided up bodybuilder and do roids, donate $1 million and some steroids. I can do that if I have the right motivation. So this next clip, the blue is the shoulder and the yellow is the lats. I think it's a good demonstration. It's worth showing, but it was filmed just by the lab tech, you know, filming it, and it's a bit shaky and it's a bit out of focus because it's trying to focus on two different things. And whatever, I'll just show you the clip. Okay, so if I just try and use my deltoids to lift these dumbbells, I can only get them so far. But if I tense my lats to get the movement going and then use momentum, I can do that. And it's a lot easier. That's all I want to show. So I've had a lot of pushback from the biomechanics community when I say that muscles can push. And the main reason, I think, is just the assumption that if that were true, we would already know it because, you know, we're the big shot biomechanics people and we already know everything. I mean, if you've got that attitude, yeah, you're going to block a lot of stuff out. But things are already going this way anyway. Like people who squat are talking about expanding the rib cage and how that gives you a lot of strength. Well, having the diaphragm tensed, which is what happens when you inhale, why would that be so structurally significant? Why would there be so much power in that? When if the diaphragm can only pull, then it should be pulling the rib cage together, not pushing it out. If you look at Da Vinci's explanation as to how breathing worked, he was operating off of the assumption that muscles only pull, and he was sort of tracing it around and coming up with this convoluted nonsense explanation. Da Vinci, who by the way said simplicity is the height of sophistication, could not come up with a simple solution to how breathing works. He didn't have the tools we have nowadays. So I'm not saying he's an idiot or anything, but I'm just saying if a genius like Da Vinci will sort of trick themselves into thinking they have a solution even though it's nonsense, why are people so confident that, oh yeah, these experts, they'll have the answers? Go look into the supposed explanation around breathing, and they got Da Vinci's explanations, threw those away because they know they're wrong, and replaced them with vague analogies. If you believe in the conventional ideas around breathing, you believe in bucket handle theory. You believe in pump handle theory. I'm not going to explain those things to you because they don't really make any sense to me. I don't think they are able to be made sense of. I don't think they're scientific enough to actually disprove, which is why they're just there filling in the gaps. So I'm just going to friggin' put the burden of evidence onto these other people because I'm not bothering arguing about this at this point. Show me how bucket handle theory makes any goddamn sense. Show me how you're smarter than Leonardo da Vinci, who his explanation was all nonsense. It's just so much easier to say that when the diaphragm contracts, it pushes outwards, which is what you should really expect it to do if you really look into it. And I made a YouTube short. I don't think I can link to shorts, but I made a YouTube short where I just had some pickleballs and fishing wire, and I showed how even if the only force involved in this model is tension, that can create a pushing force in context. And when we look at tensegrity tables and stuff like that, you realize that every single part of that tensegrity table is affecting every other part of the tensegrity table. And that's where academia has often a very narrow focus, tunnel vision focus, and they're not gonna see the forest for the trees, and they can miss that. Also, I think the biggest contention I had was people saying, well, the tendon can't push. Well, I'll show some diagrams of the tendon. The tendon of the latissimus is wedged between the teres major, the pecs, that's the physical tendon, which, by the way, isn't a long tendon. It's very broad, and depending on which anatomical drawing you look at, is quite short. Also, the muscle itself is wedged between the bicep and the tricep. So you can't think of the tendon as just being floating out in space. And another thing I just want to address is the assumption that you can just look at a muscle and figure out how it works. Now, if I was to cut the tendon to my bicep, the bicep would shoot up, all right, because it's stretched by default. If you look at skin in someone who gets fat, that skin will loosen to accommodate the larger size. If the muscle worked like that, they would just stop working. So they're totally different in how they operate. That is sort of interesting. But the point is, we know what's going to happen if I cut the tendon to my bicep, but what would happen if I cut the tendon to the diaphragm? All right, would it shoot up and become much shorter, or would it just stay hanging there? Because you're going to get different answers based on that, and you can't tell by looking at it. So how stretched it is, or how densely packed the internal myosin heads and all that shit is going to determine the function. Anyway, so I've got a lot of other YouTubes I've done discussing that. That's basically been my whole life for the last year. It's almost a year to the day that I ended up finally getting the EMG. So there's other stuff you can explore. Me punching a boxing bag. I'm not a boxer and I don't practice any of that stuff. I'm just sort of cue-bopping it, if that makes sense. You know that game where you press little buttons and the dude does stuff? It's like I go into my head, I figure out I'm going to do this muscle and this muscle, and then I practice it on the boxing bag, and I basically always do it on camera first time and don't practice at all. That's how I operate. I think that's the best way most transparent way to operate, which is why in a lot of my YouTubes you'll see me do an experiment and then get it wrong and be like, oh, actually that's not what I thought would happen. But anyway,